Welcome back, everyone, to the Humor Career Insights podcast, your guide to navigating career success. I'm your host, Vachechi Bafam, a certified professional career coach, human resources consultant, and founder of Humor. Whether you're just starting out or transitioning after years of service, this podcast is your go-to resource for invaluable tips and strategies. In this series, we are tapping into the power of storytelling. Join us as we meet some incredible people whom I have had the privilege to meet in this life journey. Some I have known for a lifetime, and some I have just met. But all of them have stories that I know will inspire you as well. So, let's get inspired. I'm honored today to be joined by a leader in ICT in the humanitarian world, Michael Rasumgu. Can you tell us about yourself? Very short introduction about yourself.
Thank you for having me. As you said, my name is Michael, and I am a head of technology at the World Food Program here in Kenya. And it's truly an honor to share my story. So my background is in ICT. I've always worked in the ICT space for many years until recently that I moved to the World Food Program, which is a big leap of faith for me, and I'm happy to tell the story.
Okay, so you moved from corporate to humanitarian. Tell us, how did that happen?
Yeah, so after university, having studied computer science, I got an opportunity to do e-commerce and web development in one of the local companies in Kenya. And quickly I moved to working with American organizations, the likes of Oracle. And then I worked with Sage, a UK company as well that is focused on software as well. Mm-hmm. And most recently in the past, I worked with Microsoft, again focused on industry solutions across the African continent, specifically on education and public sector. And with all this and the impact I saw that technology was doing, especially in education and public sector, I really asked myself whether I'm able to do more with technology. And the humanitarian world is a space that I've always been passionate about, to see the impact that we have in the world. And I took a leap of faith. And here I am in the World Food Program, enjoying exactly what I do today.
Okay. That, to me, when I hear like corporate and humanitarian, the difference is so huge in that the corporate world is really focused on profit. And the humanitarian world, we are looking at what is the impact on the world, what is the impact on the vulnerable and society in general. What have you found to be the biggest difference in working in corporate and working in the humanitarian world?
Absolutely. There is a number of differences that are come across when you move from the private sector, which is primarily corporate, to the humanitarian world. And of course, besides profit, the structure and the focus and the priorities are quite different. And when you come to the humanitarian world, as you said, it's really how you're able to drive impact with the communities that you're working with. And it's a different approach because it's no longer about, the bottom line, or it's no longer about specific targets, but more about the long-term plans that you'll have that will have lasting impact in the kind of projects you do, and being very intentional to be sure that every single action you take is actually for the good of these communities that you serve. So the focus and approach varies a bit with private sector, but there's still the bottom line in terms of, the technologies could be the same and the basic principles could be the same in terms of the organizations, but definitely the focus is different.
Okay. Let's take it a little bit back to like your early experiences. You did mention that you did, a degree in ICT, but how would you say your early experiences shaped you for the role that you have now as a senior leader in ICT?
So I've always loved technology from the start. I remember, when I was possibly 10 years or even younger, the first device I held that was close to a computer was an IBM 300. It was, a small laptop-like device with a very small screen that was running on DOS with a keyboard And this was possibly one of the first laptops to ever be invented back in the early 90s. And this was a device that was almost dead, and I got it from my uncle, but I loved it because I was holding something I'd never held before. And I owned it, and I opened it up. I understood how the motherboard works, how the keyboard, the screen works, the various connectors in the back. And the curiosity kept growing. So the moment I went into, higher learning, I knew definitely I needed to study information technology or computer science. And I checked, I remember, I was so sure what I wanted to do that in the Kenyan education system, you're required to pick 3 options when you're about to get into university or higher learning. And all my 3 options were in information technology across different institutions. And I closed my eyes and said, if I get this, I'd really be happy. I do know that my late father would have wanted me to be a doctor, but I was very clear with him that I love this and I know I can make my life out of it. So, and gladly, I did get an admission to study computer science at the University of Egerton. Quite a wonderful experience where I was able to put into practice some of this curiosity that I had. And I built my own personal skills as well to be able to build solutions on the go and really be able to offer these solutions early on when people didn't know things like, mobile app development or web development. And actually, I was able to earn a living at a university, right? Yes, and this gave me some extra pocket money, but I was so sure that I'm going to continue doing this in my career.
So the impact of the passion on your studies and your work has really been a driving force in the success that you've seen in your career.
Yes, it has been. So the impact itself, I was really passionate about building particular skills that were beyond classroom learning, and I used these skills to get my first job. I was really honored to be employed when I was in 3rd year. And because I had a special skill that I was able to provide to the organization, and they requested me to continue working as I finished my studies, and they guaranteed me that when you graduate, you don't have to worry. You have a seat. You just need to deposit your gown back in the university and come, let's start working together. So it was such a beautiful moment to actually use my skills and passion to see that I'm able to get my first job.
Now, that is a great story. A different story from the people that I've interviewed so far, including myself, where, we ask ourselves, what did you want to be when you grew up? And you didn't end up doing that, but you had that passion from young, and what you wanted to be when you grew up is exactly what you became. So this is the second time I'm asking this question. You didn't apply for your first job?
So, okay. That's a very good question. Yes and no, okay. Because I was in a university, and in the Kenyan education system, we have some long breaks, especially in public universities, where you have possibly 3 months of holiday to 4 months. So the first holiday break I had, I started applying for jobs. I didn't want to sit at home and just, watch television. And so I said I can do internship even before it gets to the year when you need to do internship. So I did a lot of applications, and I came across one organization. It's an insurance, one of the largest insurers in East Africa. And they responded back and said, you seem to have some really unique skills. Could you come on board and do some internship work? So I went, I looked at their website, and they said, I'm just an intern, currently not being paid. That was on my first week. Could I propose and revamp your website at no cost? They said, well, if you want to do it, you can do it. So I went back and redid the website. I took about 5 days, and I came back with a proposal. And when the head of technology saw this work, he said, wow, We have an agency that is managing our website, and we have never seen something that could possibly be the future of how this can look like. So, do you want to come on board? Do you want us to work in a more permanent basis? Can we give you, a stipend and have some kind of contract as much as you're a student? So that's how we started. So it wasn't a permanent employment, but definitely it started me off to the point that by the time I was graduating, I was really honored actually to be told that you don't have to worry about the job, just come on board and we continue the work.
So your interview was in the work that you did, basically. And, I find it interesting that when you were doing the work, it wasn't, you had not been guaranteed a permanent position. It wasn't, you were not being given a lot of money, but you put your passion into it and that opened doors.
Absolutely. So I really loved, what technology can do in terms of helping organizations, right? And I had built my skills around web and mobile app development, and I just loved it. I said, let me do it. It's something I enjoy to do. And it actually opened doors for me. So looking back, I truly feel that passion is what gave me the opportunity to be where I am today.
Yeah. And I like what you said about unique skills, that unique selling proposition that you need to have as an individual. Now, in technology, everything is rapidly changing. How do you keep abreast of that, and how do you keep those unique skills sharpened?
You're right regarding technology changing. It's possibly the industry that changes the fastest. And as we've seen in the last decade, technology has changed every year on year. We've had an advent of many different things, from the advent of social media to the advent of data as a big, big component of the work we do. Then we got machine learning, then we got blockchain. And now, of course, the big, big conversation is around artificial intelligence. So definitely, technology is changing every day. And how you stay updated is you have to be curious. You really have to be curious. You have to understand where the world is headed. You have to skill and reskill yourself to be able to stay up to date and ensure that you're actually able to be the best version at that moment, to be able to do what you have to do.
Okay. You mentioned something that's been on everybody's mouth, really, and that is AI. I personally was afraid of it. I'm a technophobe. And AI was like, what is this? So please, for the layman, what is artificial intelligence?
Yes, artificial intelligence is a big conversation today. And I am currently writing an article to sort of try and demystify between the buzz around it and the reality about what the impact of AI can be in Africa. When we remove all the fluff and the big words and the sunshine that is, sometimes happens when we have new things coming in the world. And AI gives us massive power to be able to achieve a lot, both in our current, the humanitarian world where I work, but also across various spaces, including education, healthcare, and anything you can imagine. And today, a lot of people are still scared of AI. You're not alone, because they don't understand it. And because of the potential risks it poses, we have challenges of, AI taking over the world. So we are told, right? But also, this is the same worries we had when we developed the first computer, right? And we said, it's going to take over the world. It's going to have a bigger brain than the human, and it's going to change the world forever. So it's very common. And what we say is, it's a tool that can really make us extremely efficient, make us achieve much more in the shortest time, for us to be able to focus on what's important. Do we know whether it's going to take over the world 100 years from now? We don't. Definitely, we don't have control of that. But what we know for sure is that today we need it.
So that fear of the unknown, we need to get over the fear of the unknown to be able to use this tool.
Absolutely. We are allowed to be afraid of what's the unknown and what could possibly go wrong. But what I can say is, it's not going to go wrong anytime soon. We're way in early stages. Humans are still immensely more powerful in thought and in capability than any artificial intelligent models we have in the world. And in the next many years, we don't see anything changing. And also today, we have many, many discussions around governance in terms of controlling what we can develop. I've been part of these discussions in many different platforms. And being able to guide and control what is developed is also one way of guaranteeing that we never get to the point that we could call doomsday, that AI takes over our lives.
Yeah, my fear. Now, what has been the impact of AI on your job, if any?
Yes, so AI is around us today, really, if you think about it. And in my job, it's been, personally in terms of the day-to-day work I do, AI does a lot of things. It does planning for me. It does editing for me. It also, I use AI to, come up with new ideas and also just bring the old ideas I have together. So AI is like a best buddy. And I believe that everyone needs to look at it this way. I know in the education system or in different spaces, people are a bit concerned that AI is now helping students or helping people not to do the job, but it's actually making us more efficient to remove the repetitive tasks. So it's removed these repetitive tasks that I would take hours and hours to type every single word in a specific report by just putting in the right ideas and the data and the input, and I'm able to get some of these things out. So I do believe that AI has transformed how I work, and it should be able to transform everyone else.
Yes, I think so. Everyone's talking about ChatGPT. I'll get it to do my emails for me, my reports for me. So it is a concern in terms of okay, did you really do this report? Yeah. So on examinations now and on education, how do we govern?
So this is an exciting topic again. In my background, I have been really, some of the work I've done, I've focused on education and providing technology tools to educators and to students across Africa. So it's a topic that I love to discuss. And I just finished my executive MBA at the United States International University, and it was a conversation that, with the professors, we were debating about the use of AI, the likes of ChatGPT and many more. You'd be so surprised. We're now over 10 different, language models that can be used besides ChatGPT, but it's because that's what we know. And so there's a fear that students are going to stop doing their study work to be able to really learn, and they are going to use the AI tools to deliver the work. But on the other end, there's a massive potential that it brings, that students are able to come up with the ideas and type them into the AI, and AI is able to help them build them up, and they can actually be able to learn faster. So instead of taking a longer time to learn a concept, AI is supposed to shorten this, and this is how we should embrace AI in the universities and in the schools that we have across, by not fearing it, by not trying to block it. Now we have, some conversations in the education system about getting AI blockers or AI detection tools that try and read materials to see whether AI has been used. But really, AI is not the bad person here. It's just an enabler that can be used to achieve much more.
Congratulations on your qualification. You do believe in continuous learning.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Have you found that people who do that, who are continuously learning, are more successful in their careers?
I truly believe so. I believe that you can never stop learning because you have to keep improving on yourself and you have to get better. And the only way to get better is to learn, right? And learning gives you a chance to reignite your mind and to get new ideas and to really be able to come back and apply this. So I love to learn. I'm currently looking at what do I want to do next in the education system. Maybe I want to do a PhD, maybe I want to study a language, but definitely it has changed who I am. And today, I'm really glad that I went back to school.
Oh, great. Going back a little bit to AI and the AI detectors. So I saw somewhere there was someone who was doing a test for an interview, and the instruction on the test was do not use artificial intelligence. If we detect that you have used artificial intelligence in your written questions, we will disqualify you. And the fear around it all. And she was now concerned because she had done her test and then she used an AI checker, and the AI checker was saying 80%. 80% or 90% used AI, but she hadn't. So she was like, are these tools even real? Are they even correct?
This is, a really interesting point because we are seeing it a lot in the world now, that the AI checkers also do not know how to differentiate genuine human work and work that has been empowered by AI. Sometimes they'll pick your genuine work and grade it as something that you've used AI. So this is why as we apply these control measures, we have to be very careful and ensure that we are not also then slowing ourselves down by being too operational and too focused on the small things instead of the bigger picture in terms of what we want to achieve.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. We have to have a balance between stopping progress and controlling progress. Yeah. Let's talk about leadership style. How have you adapted to the new generation of employees?
Oh, yeah. So leadership is an interesting topic. And we have, I am a generation Y, I believe. And now we have Generation Z. And I think most recently we have the Generation Alpha. So in the current workplace, we see a lot of Generation Zs, I think, and a few Generation Alphas are coming on board now. They're of working age as well. And the working style is different. And you definitely have to adapt as a leader to make sure that you're really able to find the middle ground in terms of communication, in terms of delivering on goals, and in terms of finding a way that you can share the mission and vision of what needs to be achieved and still be able to walk through the working styles that we are seeing in the new generation. So we really have to be intentional about this as a leader.
Yeah. What are some of the tips that I use? What are some of the strategies that you could share with a leader, a senior leader who is struggling perhaps with managing Generation Z or, Generation Alpha, and they're like, I can't do this. What are the strategies that you could share with them that you have found to work?
What I want to say first is, one is you'll be so surprised that the newer generations, the Generation Zs, Generation Alphas, are extremely innovative, extremely bright. They pick concepts really fast. They do research extremely quickly. They know all the amazing tools to use to get things done in the shortest time. And sometimes this could scare the older generations, right? Because we don't understand this working style. We're used to a very traditional approach. So the first part of it is that these are very brilliant people. We just need to see how to plug in and connect with them. And the second part about your question, of course, I want to say first is this is a challenge that everyone is struggling with, right? It's not only a few people, and we all have to be conscious that on a day-to-day basis, as we work with these amazing, brilliant people, we're very intentional to be able to meet them at that point. So one of the strategies is to openly discuss, work style, communication style, and what would ensure that they are the most productive and give the best foot forward. If we apply traditional methods to new, not really new problems, but to new ways of working, we're definitely going to get skewed results. So we have to be intentional and almost continually pinch ourselves to say, are we asking the questions? Are we really trying to reel them in to get exactly what works for them? Because once we do that and once we share our goals and what we want to achieve, I truly believe you get the most brilliant results.
Yeah. And one thing that I found in terms of our traditional way of working, the 9 to 5, the newer generations are not time bound, and maybe moving away from that time bound tick, tick, tick to more deliverable. Like you're saying, they're very talented. If they can do something in 1 hour, why must we keep them sitting in an office from 9 to 5?
Absolutely. So the new way of working is different, and of course, again, there are many factors involved, including the kind of work and places of work, because there are different scenarios. But definitely, we have to be very, very intentional to be able to adapt and ensure that as long as results are delivered, as long as the goals are very clear, we have to move with the changing times. But I truly agree with you.
Yeah. Managing change. That is one thing that, like in series 1 of the Human Career Insights, we spent a lot of time talking about managing change. And you just alluded to it. So what are some practical tips you found useful in managing change in your career?
Change is a constant for all of us. Sometimes you're ready for it, sometimes we're not. So we always have to be open-minded to change. And we have to be uncomfortable sometimes when change is happening. But we should never let it bring us down, because in my past, in many times, I've had to shift. I've had to shift from, the corporate private sector to the humanitarian world, which is a brilliant move, which has really helped me really appreciate and love what I do today. But that was change. And this change needed that every single day I understand and I work towards feeling comfortable and feeling 100% present to be able to do my best in what I do.
Yeah. That's it's like emotional intelligence. I think there should be something that's called change intelligence.
That is a good one.
Yeah. Let's talk about self-care practices while we are here. What self-care practices would you recommend to humanitarian professionals? It's a tough environment.
Absolutely. And so as an example, it's really important to have self-care practices, because as a humanitarian, sometimes you go to different parts of the world and you see, extreme situations that sometimes could unravel you, because this is really the places we have to work, that we have to drive the change and impact that is required. So you have to be conscious to make sure that you're mentally fit. And this, you can achieve by keeping a very healthy relationship with the people around you, being conscious about how you feel and getting help in cases where sometimes you feel down. But also you have to be physically fit. I'm a strong believer of physical fitness. I believe I'm addicted to physical fitness now. I try hit the gym as often as I could. Most of the time at 4:30 in the morning because of so many commitments during the day. But also once in a while when I have time, I do like to golf. And so this kind of, intentional self-care practices, they help you. But also just, taking some time off to just deflate, completely switching off. In the modern world, it's impossible to switch off. In the modern day of working, you have multiple devices that are constantly buzzing. You're always needed somewhere. And it's totally okay, but it's also okay to switch off. So being intentional to switch off will ensure that you're able to take care of yourself so that you can do your best when others need you.
Yeah. Intentionality, actually slotting it in, like how we slot in our meetings. 8 to 9, I'm at the gym. I think that's really important because it ends up taking a back seat. And if you are not well, if you're not either mentally or physically well, you cannot do well. Let's talk about this remote work. We alluded to it earlier when we were talking about, the new generation and the 8 to 9 way of working. How has been that impact, or what has been the impact of remote work in your career, since most jobs can be done remotely?
Yeah, so, and we saw a huge boom of remote working when the COVID-19 pandemic hit us, and it was completely unprecedented and unexpected around the world. Nobody was ready for it. For the longest time, traditionally, most people were doing 8 to 5 in the office. And now we had a situation where we needed to social distance. We had curfews and people had to be away. And we suddenly realized that the work can be done remotely. And this has led to a complete shift in terms of how we measure productivity. traditionally back in the day, we'd count the screen hours. You've been on your desk. What time did you clock in? What time did you leave? But now we're slowly shifting to what you said, to more delivery oriented, to say, these are the tasks, this is the plan, and this is what we need to deliver. Whatever time you take, whenever you do it, as long as it's delivered, you've met your key performance indicators. So there's a huge shift in remote working. We see more organizations now are doing remote working, largely in the private sector. But again, there has to be a balance because, for example, in the humanitarian world, you're needed on the ground. You have to be present. You have to be really in touch, right, with the people you work with and the communities you're in touch with. So it might be ideal in some scenarios, but not in all roles. So we have to be very fluid and adaptive to ensure that based on the scenario, we're able to adapt. But in some cases, we have to say that it has to be done in person.
Yeah, that leads us to another question about if all this remote work has led to multinational teams in different countries, different cultures. Now, as a leader, how do you manage that?
Absolutely. Currently, I engage with teams across the world, and we're able to deliver on projects extremely fast in an extremely efficient way without even a blip. This was unimaginable 20 years ago. And the same in my past as well. We did a project across 5 continents, and I was sitting in Nairobi. I only had to visit once or twice across different continents, but really the work was done. So technology has been the backbone of helping us to do things remotely. And we really have to appreciate where this is headed, because with time, we might not need offices anymore,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yes.
What do you love the most in your work?
Wow. I love so many things. I don't know where to start. In my current job, I love the mission and the work we do on a daily basis. I truly believe in the impact, and I truly believe in the possibilities of what we do and how technology is the backbone to get us where we need to be, and really across the world. I love this because it's something I believe in. And I love it more because I get to use, what I used to consider a toy when I was 10 years old, to really see it now turning into this powerful, different kinds of technology that can be used for different kind of ways, from artificial intelligence that we've talked about, to data, to, machine learning, to all these different things that we have. I really love this, and I love the possibility of what the future holds. But this space, the technology space, is really where the future is, and we're going to see a huge boom in the future.
Yeah. I want to take you back to all the opportunities that you've had along the way and link it to something that I've been discussing with all my guests on this show, and that is networking, referrals, and contacts. I have it on good authority, Michael, that you are a well-connected, well-networked person. Have you found that network helpful in your career?
Absolutely, and thank you. I do believe that yes, in the industry, I have been able to really build some very, very, very amazing connections, and these connections have been significant in my growth in my career. I remember one of my early jobs when I was moving from the first organization that I worked for to the second organization. Actually, it was through a referral, and I had, through the passionate work we do, sometimes the technology meetups and all these different conversations, and someone up here in the industry said, look, you seem to really have a passion in this. That's when we were starting to see the rise in cloud computing and mobile applications on the cloud. He said, you seem to really love this kind of technology, and there is an opportunity in this American multinational organization. They're looking for someone like you. Do you mind if I share your resume? And we had a brilliant interview And I met the whole team, and they said, welcome on board. And that was through a network. So I am a strong believer of networks. I urge everyone not to be closed in. In the technology world, we have brilliant minds, but most of them sometimes they struggle because they focus on self and they focus on the computer in front of them. Yes. And we have to get out there. We have to build connections. We have to keep the connections alive. Yeah?
Yeah, they definitely say, like coders, for instance. Yes. You know, a lot of technical people or technically talented people, the relationship is between them and their device. And they don't really go around like relationship building. But, you know, I think it's important to have people like you who have seen that blend. That, yes, I have all these technical skills, but I also need the soft skills. And the network and connections have really propelled that career. So, young person coming into this technological world, coming into ICT, and they're listening to this podcast and they're thinking, wow, what are the opportunities? How can I get those same opportunities? What can I do to eventually be at that leadership role in ICT? What are the tips? What is the advice you would give them?
First of all, I'm really proud of anyone who wants to get into the technology space because this is the future. We have to really love what technology can do for us and we have to embrace it. So if you're in this space, I definitely applaud you because you're in the right place. My advice to anyone who wants to succeed in this space is, one, you really have to find your passion. Technology is constantly changing. We have new kinds of technology every day, and it can get confusing, but you have to pick a space and get really good at it. You need your own unique identifier. You need your own skills that someone can say, this person is unique to all the others. Every year in Kenya, we have thousands of graduates who come out, with skills in technology, right? Across Africa is the same. And what is the differentiator between you and all these people? So it doesn't have to just be the piece of paper that says that you are qualified. In technology, it has also to be the passion and the skill that you built by yourself. That is the largest differentiator that I've seen that has opened opportunities for many, including myself.
Now, talking about the technological space in Kenya, it's a technological hub, like a big technological hub. How would you say that has come about with so many people in like all this technological space and all this talent?
Yes, Kenya indeed is a technological hub, I believe possibly number one in Africa. And it comes from, the nature of the people and the love to try out new things. Mm-hmm. I believe Kenyans are very adventurous. We are home of many amazing technological inventions and we keep pushing the envelope every day. So I truly believe that yes, Kenya is in this space. We have brilliant minds that are building brilliant solutions every day. And I don't think it's going to stop now. I think we're going to see many startups. We're going to see many technological advancements coming out of Kenya. And I think it's a brilliant thing that we have to keep pushing across Africa as well.
Yeah, I think when passion, purpose, and opportunity intersect.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Another interesting topic that has been like a theme in most of my conversations is gender equity, and particularly in the humanitarian world. In recent years, we've seen that in the humanitarian world, there's been this focus on gender equity. Would you say that the gender gap in leadership within the humanitarian sector has been significantly bridged? Or are there still some critical areas that need attention? And if so, what are you as a male senior leader in the humanitarian world doing to bridge the gap?
This is a really good conversation, and it's something that I also am very passionate about. In the humanitarian world, I'm very proud to see the progress we've made in the last decade. And today, we see a massive improvement in the gender equality and equity, and in terms of numbers. And this cuts across from, staff numbers and leadership as well, whereby I'm very proud to see the current organization I work as well. We have gender equity and equality. And this is the same thing that I'm applying in my team as well. I'm really proud to say that in my team, actually, I think there are more females than males, and it's an amazing thing because they're brilliant and we're able to do a lot of work together. So I'm seeing we're making the right progress. We're really on the right path. There's still areas that we could look at across the world on how could we do better, and these conversations exist and we have them every day on how can we do better to really ensure this gender equality and equity.
So, Michael, talking about gender, there is a belief that I've heard about recently that when you have a team that is more women than male counterparts, it seems to be more stable. You're not building a new team every week. Myth or fact?
Wow. So I'm hearing this from you for the first time. So I cannot say whether it's a myth or a fact, but what I know for sure is that having, a gender equally team and having amazing, brilliant women in the team really adds great value. And the team is able to deliver well. And of course, so it's always amazing to have a very well balanced team, but definitely I'm not able to tell you whether this is a myth or a fact.
Okay, we'll throw it out there. Let's throw it to our listeners, eh? Listeners, a question for you. Myth or fact? Okay, so what emerging trends? We talked about AI, but are there any other emerging trends or technologies that excite you?
Yes, so as we said, rightfully so, as you've pointed out, artificial intelligence is the current huge conversation. And we are looking at how do we advance this to be in many different spaces. We've already looked at, when we had data and analytics and machine learning from data or blockchain and all these different technologies. So we've seen this. And now we are looking at, autonomous life and being able to really have, autonomous machinery do things for us. But all that is emanating from AI. So I see AI taking center stage for some time before we move on to a much bigger, different concept, because it's so wide and has so much potential that when we move to the next leap, it is really going to be amazing. But we are going to be in AI for some time.
Yeah, I always think about when I hear about technology, I think about the first cell phone that I had. It was this brick, it was a Nokia phone. It was a big phone. And now you have little tiny phones, smartphones even, that are doing so much more than what we had then. So I think that's sort of like, the trend in how technologies develop.
Yes.
We're going to have a sleeker, smarter AI.
Exactly. It's going to keep getting better. It's going to keep getting advanced. As you said, the mobile phones were basic initially they were for texting or messaging. Then, we had voice, and now we have a mini personal computer in our pockets. So really, definitely this is going to be artificial intelligence as well. It's going to keep getting advanced, do so much for us, and completely change jobs and reinvent and create new jobs. But definitely AI is here to stay.
Michael, there is always a question that my clients in my coaching practice ask me all the time, and that is, what do hiring managers look for? So aside from, the job description that's out there, what is it that as a hiring manager, you must have recruited plenty? What is the things that you look for?
It's really, a good question for people who are looking at growing their careers, because if I didn't know this, I definitely would have had challenges as well in the past. So what I'd say as a hiring manager, what I'd look for is definitely the skills and technical expertise in the field are very critical, and the qualifications as well. But ultimately, what helps you to fit within the team is your passion and your attitude to be able to really bring your best forward consistently to really help the organization meet the mission. And this also comes with the values that you believe in, and truly being able to count on you as someone who can lift up the team. So it goes beyond just skill and, the qualifications and papers to more you as a human. What can you do for the organization?
Okay. You know what? Because I have a technical person here, I feel like we're going to talk about AI all day. I keep having all these AI questions popping in. Now, back to AI. What are the jobs that you think will disappear because of AI? And what are the new jobs? I like to think of new jobs. What are the new jobs that AI will bring or might bring?
So I'm going to take you back in time. The automatic teller machine was invented. That is the ATM. And it was such a game changer because we used to have people, clerks who were employed to just count money on the counter and dispense it, right? And suddenly there were machines that could you insert a card and they give you the money that you need. And the first reaction is there were strikes, in some parts of the European world, especially in England, because people were saying our jobs are being taken away by technology. And it's normal that during technological revolution, there's always going to be resistance. So today, we have artificial intelligence. And it's definitely coming for jobs, but it's also creating new jobs. And some of the jobs that it's going to take is any repetitive task. If, you're taking in some information and compiling it into a certain format and reproducing it, possibly this can be done by artificial intelligence at a very early stage. So any repetitive task that can be trained onto a machine can be done by AI. But then what it does is then it creates new roles as well that never existed before. And we're seeing, hundreds of new roles. Some we cannot imagine today are going to be created by AI. So again, as we say, it's not doom, it's an opportunity to reskill, to really be able to keep up with the changing times.
Okay. So someone who wants to take advantage of this new jobs coming out from AI, what would you recommend that they skill upping, that they upskilling? What would they study or what can they learn?
So again, because as we said, the key conversation is AI, just start off by understanding AI. Understand the language models, understand the backbone of it and how it works, and really where we are today, the various AI offerings. And there are many different ways that you can use AI today, including building applications and solutions in studios and all these different things. So understanding this, one of the big shakeups that will happen in the technology world is AI is actually going to be able to build software. Yet in technology, the largest workforce we have is software developers and software engineers. So AI is able to churn out, you want a mobile app, really to do something, and you get it in less than a minute. Yet this is a project that would take, months for a developer to do. So again, being able to move to the next level is going to be very, very critical. But for now, as the jobs are coming out, is just stay updated in terms of how technology is evolving, especially on AI.
Continuous learning and unlearning. I think I had a conversation on this last episode. So if you missed that, listener, check that one out. Now, it's been an hour and I am grateful for the time that you have given me. But I cannot let you go without a lessons learned conversation. What advice would you give to your younger self?
What advice would I give my younger self? I remember, as I told you, my life story and having gotten an opportunity at a very young age to start working. A lesson that I learned along the way was one time I got a chance to really get, really huge growth in another opportunity, but it required me to have a very special skill, especially in software design and development that I had never explored before. So I entered an elevator and I met the CEO of this technology company, and he asked me a few questions and said, "Look, I'm actually looking for someone to come and do this particular role for me. Definitely it's a huge growth for you, maybe much more money. Do you want to come?" And I, without thinking twice, I said, "No, I don't know how to do that. I'm sorry. I'm yet to learn how to do this." But then through the years, I told myself, it's something that I could have taught myself very quickly. And I believe sometimes what leaders look for is the ambition and the willingness to say, I might not fully understand this, but I'm willing to come in, put the work, and I'll deliver for you if you just give me some time. So that is a lesson, that never say no to opportunities just because you don't know. You have no idea how fast you can learn, how fast you can take up this, and maybe you can be the best in that particular space. That's my learning.
That is a good lesson. And, that lesson really reminds me of an article I was reading recently about job applications, and back to that gender difference. How men will look at a job description and they'll be like, I can do 1, 2, 3 out of 8. I can do this job. And they apply. Women will go down the list, tick, 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 7 out of 8, and they get to the 8th one. Oh, I can't do this one. And they will not apply. And I've started seeing now job ads that say, if you cannot do everything, don't let that stop you applying, because generally women will tend to want to be able to do everything. But that is not growth, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You should be able to look at a job and say, I can learn. I can do this job.
Absolutely.
But there's a gap that I can learn into.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Michael, thank you very much for joining us on Humor Career Insights. We are very grateful. I have been inspired, and I'm sure our listeners have also been inspired by your story. Do you have any last thoughts, any last messages for our listeners?
Thank you, Bache, for having me. It's been a real pleasure to have this conversation. And I hope that the listeners enjoy. I hope that we keep being ambitious, we keep challenging the norm, and we keep pushing forward. And remember to be kind. Thank you.
I like that. Remember to be kind. Listeners, thank you for joining us today. We've been listening to an inspiring story from Inspiring Career Story. Michael Rasugu joined us today. And I hope you've been inspired. Until next time, stay inspired.